Hello everyone, welcome to another episode. In today's episode, we will discuss and learn how to use a case when statement. So basically, this allows us to do something based on a condition. So let's start with selecting everyone from people. And here we have all columns from the people table. Let's currently add some information from the countries table, right? So this we already can do. We left join the countries table to the people table. Here we use the aliases, right? So we say p.country equals c.name. And this ways it selects everything, but we don't want everything. Let's select maybe the ID. Let's select the name. Let's select the surname. And let's select currency. Okay. And now let's say that we would like to mark every person where the currency is euro. So of course, yeah, we can clearly see that, but we would like to have an additional column that has a value 1 if the currency is euro, or the value 0 if the currency is not euro. So the way we do it is we come in here and we say case c.currency. So basically we will be doing something based on the values of the currency column. And now we define, so here maybe let's move it to a new line. So basically we say case and now we say when. And now we need to say a value. So basically when it's equal to euro, then 1. So then the value we want to generate. And now we could say basically when, here we could have another value and then and something else. But as we just want to have 1 where it's euro and 0 in all other cases, we will just say else 0 and then you end it with end. And now you can also have we could execute this. This, as you can see, works, right? So here we have ones, here we have zeros. However, I think it's currently very important that we just have an alias. So say is euro, something like this, right? And here we have now the alias of this column, and this is just a normal column. Say that let's combine what we've learned in the previous episode. From here we could just select star from, we could use that as our subquery, right? And we could say where is euro equals 1, and now we select only the first 3 rows. Okay, so this is the first use of our case when statement. I will currently remove all of it here. Let's keep the currency here, but let's return maybe also p.cost of living. Right. Okay. Here we need a comma. We also have this cost of living, and I will remove this just to be a little bit more straightforward. So now let's say that we would like to somehow group these costs of living. So let's say that everyone whose cost of living is between 0 and 5,000 has a low cost of living, between 5 and 10,000 medium, and above 10,000 is a high cost of living. So basically we'll have these groups, and then we would like to count the number of people who are in these groups. So what we would do is, and we don't need the information from the countries table, I will just remove it here. So let's, now we have all the information that we need, and let's begin. So once again, we'll write our case statement. So let's case p.cost living. And now when we say when, we would need to say lower than 5,000, but this we cannot really say. So instead what we have to do is we just remove it from here and we just say case when p cost of living lower than 5,000, because here we just can't have we just can't have a lower than 5,000. So we just need to say, we need to move the column name from here, from the case to the when statement. And then we'll need to repeat it in every when. But basically, if our cost of living is lower than 5,000, then what we want to have is we want to have small. When the cost of living is lower than 10,000, then we want to have medium, and else we want to have large. We want to end as group cost of living. And let's execute currently this. And we can see that we have 1,000 here, so it's small, 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 8,000 is medium, and then 10,000 and 11,000 is large. And this is a very important thing. So here we have only one boundary of the group. This is because how the case when is executed. So when it analyzes this value and this value fits into this group, this is not analyzed because that value 1,000 also fits into the medium group, right? Because it's also lower than 10,000. However, because this is first, it fits here. So because this returns true, right? Then the small got assigned and nothing more was done. Now if I change this, you can now see that the 1,000 is in the medium, right? And we have nothing that's small. It is because all the small costs of living also are medium, right? Therefore, you need to remember that the orders in which you have the whens here is actually important. Or what you can do if you don't want to care about the order, you can also do when cost of living, right? Here will be bigger than 0 and lower than 5,000. And here will be P cost of living, basically. P cost of living will be higher or equal than 5,000. And now if I do it like this, then we also get the smalls. Okay, let's go back to our previous setup because it was much simpler. So I'll once again move it here. I will remove this part. I will remove this part. I will remove the end and I will run it. So here I should have the same results. Okay, and now what we can do, what we wanted to do is we wanted to count the number of people who fit into each group. So let's do it now. We'll use the knowledge that we have acquired previously. And natural way for you to think about it would be that we can just say group by group cost living, and here add, let's say, count star. But we cannot do that. We get an invalid identifier. It's because this group by does not really know this column before, because the group by is applied before the alias is applied. So what we need to do actually is we need to once again use the knowledge that we have gathered in the previous episode. And what we need to do is we need to say select group cost living and then count star from, and once again here, let's move this to a new line. We make use of this subquery. And now in the subquery, we'll just say group by group cost living, and we'll execute this. And now we see that in the small group, we have 6 people, in the medium, we have 2, and in the large, we have 2. Let's try to validate this. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2 medium, and 2 large. So this works very good. And this is very important that we did it like this, using the subquery. And this is actually the correct way to do this. So there is also a different way to do this. So you could remove this subquery and not use this subquery at all. You could actually come in here and instead of grouping by the group cost living, we could sort of work over it or work around it. But usually it is very bad for your performance, the performance of the query. So I will not even show you it here. So basically what you can do is you can copy this and sometimes you can put this in a group by clause. I must admit, currently I wouldn't even know how to do this for this case. Therefore, just stick to our subquery option. Okay, let's remove this. Let's try to think about a different use of a case when. Let's select everything from people. So what you can do is you can also put the case when statement in the group by, as I said, but you shouldn't do it. But you can also put this in a where clause. So for example, and this will be absolutely unnecessarily complicated, but sometimes you may want to do something like this. You can do where and now open and close the parentheses. So basically opening and closing the parentheses will ensure that what is inside will be resolved before or earlier than anything else. This is just like maths, right? So here you put, like, say case when, and then you say favorite color, case when, sorry, favorite color is equal to green, then 1, else 0, and now you say equals 1, we will basically select everyone where the color is green. This is absolutely unnecessarily complicated, but you can use it this way, and there are maybe use cases where you could use something like this. But once again here, if you absolutely wanted to do something like this, my recommendation is don't put the case when statement inside in a where clause, in a join condition, don't put it in a group by, or in any other clause for that matter. It is always or almost always better, if you really want to filter like this, that you just come back here and say, okay, I select everything, and then next to everything I also select case when favorite color equals green, then 1 else 0, and as I don't know, color picker. Here we need to have the table name. So basically, if you want to have a comma with an asterisk, you need to have either a table name or a table alias. So basically here now we have it here, and then you just select everything from, you just select just like it from a subquery, right? So here you say where color picker equals 1, and you have the rows. Absolutely unnecessary. I don't think you should, of course, filter like this. This is a simple case. Sometimes there might be slightly more interesting and useful cases, but in general, you want to have the case when here in the select, and you want to first generate the values that you want to use, and then only then you want to use them, and not actually have the case when inside a where or a group by. This is usually a very bad sign, and it will be a very bad performing query. But just for the sake of science, let's go back to our initial query, right? Let's select something from the people. And instead of selecting something, let's maybe get a name, and let's get the country from people. And let's actually here left join our country table, right? So here we have C, here we have P, and the name comes from the country comes from the people, or the name comes from the people table, country comes from people table, and let's use, I don't know, the currency once again. Right, and we have a missing keyword because we are missing an on condition. And now let's use our case when in the on condition. So let's, for example, see or say that we would like to join on all the rows on what we do always. So we say p.country equals c.name, right? I think we have an issue. We have an issue because our table is not called country, it's called countries. So let's say that we would like to join as we always do, or what we would like to do is we would like to join, let's say the, I don't know, Switzerland to all the rows that we have here. So what we could do is we could just say case when, and once again in the parentheses, or maybe let's use the other version. So basically case country when. So now we are analyzing country column values, and here let's just stick to the aliases. When Switzerland, then 1, else 0 end. So basically this expression will evaluate to 1 when a country in a given row is equal to Switzerland, else it will evaluate to 0. And let's say now equal 1. And what this will do is we will now get Switzerland basically for all the rows that we have, or we will get all the rows from the countries table, you can see it basically here, to a person whose country is Switzerland. So basically, yeah, I don't know if this is very useful. It is just for you to sort of give you a feeling of how this works. But once again, we could have done it different. We could have just put this into our select list here and then use a subquery to achieve a similar result. One more use case that you can have is basically when you want to encode some variables. So let's select everything from people. And now let's say that we want to have 1 when the country is Switzerland, 2 when Poland, 3 when Germany, 4 when USA, and 5 when Denmark. So what we will do is, let's select maybe only the ID, name, and surname, and then let's say country, and then we will do a case country. And now when, let me add a tab here, when, and now you do a Switzerland, basically then 1, when, then 2, I will copy this, you have 5, so basically here we will do Poland, here we will do Germany, USA, and Denmark. And here we want to do 3, 4, 5. And I like to do an else. So if this is something that we don't expect, right, I will do like -1 or a different value. And now I would say country encoded, right? So here, basically, now when we have a Switzerland, we have a 1, Poland 2, Germany 3, and so on. And it's important to repeat how this works. So basically when one of the expressions from top to bottom evaluates to true, it does not evaluate anything anymore. So currently it's not important, but it was important when we had the boundaries. Therefore, we could only set them like from the one side. Okay, but if you want to run some kind of model on this, you don't need an input in this format. You basically need these to be binary variables. And this you can also do very easy. So basically what you need to do is say case country, when Switzerland, then 1, and as, basically, let's move it right here, and as country Switzerland. So now what we just created is here we have a 1 if the country is Switzerland, and for now a null. Let's maybe add else 0. So now we have a 1 where country is Switzerland and 0 in all the other cases. So basically now what we could do is we could just add 4 additional variables. So here we, instead of Switzerland, say Poland, and here we say country Poland. Here instead of Switzerland we say Germany, and we say country Germany. Here we say USA, we say country USA, and basically copy it once again, and we say Denmark. And country will be also Denmark. We run this, and now you can see that we have 1 here in Switzerland, here in Poland we have 1, here we have 1 in Germany, here we have 1 in the USA, and here in Denmark. Okay, so I think this is an important use case, especially when it comes to running some kind of machine learning models on it. This is it for now, for today. Thank you all for watching. I think this was a little bit shorter of a video, but this was definitely an important part because the case when is actually how we can handle some conditional statements in SQL without using the procedural language logic. Okay, so I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video.